Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, take it away.
I'm Don Hayes, and I'm representing our team for Sun and Green, and we're proposing a Lake Erie nutrient loading reduction strategy. We're proposing to pre-treat nutrients from greenhouses before they impact the lake. So we want to treat these nutrients and prior to them entering the natural environment. Currently, there's a program in Chatham-Kent area to collect and manage the effluent from greenhouses, where they're actually going to pipe the effluent over to a sewage treatment plant. Now, we feel that the use of, or piping of the effluent to the sewage treatment plant is a waste of a waste. We think that the nutrients have value and should be used. The wastewater, currently the wastewater is discharged untreated and into creeks and tributaries to the lake. The effluents have very high levels of nutrients and salts. The orthophosphate levels are currently between 220 and 200 milligrams per liter, and the nitrates are 100 to 500 milligrams per liter. These are nutrients that you pay for, and they're being wasted. So we look at that as an opportunity. This is the effect of that nutrient loading in 2018. Our design is similar to what's being currently done in the area. We are talking about putting a bioreactor in banks of 5 to 7 within a greenhouse. This gives us a number of advantages. We are looking at using normal practices that are available now. We're not inventing anything new, we're just using them in a new way. So the algae reactor within the greenhouses ensures the year-round operation, the controlled growing conditions, and scalable to the effluent flows, so we can go from a small source in a small greenhouse, or to where we're talking about linking all of the greenhouses together and discharging to a sewage treatment plant. We can deal with that effluent by sizing up our system. The greenhouse method for using their nutrients and their effluent and producing their effluent, they recycle all of their water to the point where the nutrients are still there, but the limiting factor on their use is the salts. We want to use this salt in ensuring that we don't have extended biodiversity within the effluent. So we're trying to limit the growth to a single type of algae. So we're using a common collection practice, which is centrifugal. There are centrifuges out there that will ensure that the cells are not destroyed, and we can collect our cells. The products that we're going to produce or hope to produce are all value added. So we can do biofuels. Biofuels from algae have 7 times the ethanol production than a corn field. Cosmetics, it's a high value use. Fish food, fertilizers, we can make all of those out of what was waste. So here we get a benefit from this waste that we're treating, and we actually can make it profitable. The control and our controlled growth rates are scalable and ensure final effluent quality. We are proposing to use gabion baskets for our final disposal, so we would trickle the water or cascade the water over the limestone in the baskets. This provides long-term phosphorus binding. It's inexpensive and a proven technology. We're looking at an equalization pond. The pond design allows us to treat the effluent prior and equalize it prior to final discharge. It also provides the added flexibility of should a user decide to utilize an engineered algae. So it's a final stopgap measure before discharge our effluent to the natural environment. So it just gives you that last chance to deal with your effluent. If the effluent isn't such a good quality, then you can put it back through the system.
That's all the time we have.
Thank you.
I mean, again. For 5 seconds or something, you guys are crushing it. Okay, 3 minutes of Q&A from the judges, go for it.
Okay, so my question is, greenhouses have effluent? I guess I didn't realize that. How is that generated?
Well, most of the greenhouses are in the Chatham-Kent area are growing in coconut-based media, and they flow their nutrients through that media, and they recirculate it.
Yeah, quick question. You said you're going to use the nutrient present in the effluent to create algae, certain types of algae,
Yes.
to produce some biofuel or fish food.
Yes.
That part is understandable. But then, what is the need for this, again, secondary treatment or equalization pond? What are you expecting in the effluent?
We're not expecting anything, but we wanted to be able to ensure that because we're looking at 5 to 7 reactors, you want to ensure that the quality of the effluent that enters the natural environment is consistent. And if we decide that you want to put in that engineered organism, it gives you that last location to actually capture it and recirculate your effluent back into your process, ensuring that we don't get any nutrients out to any undesirable nutrients out to the lake.
Could you quickly explain the interaction between your business and the greenhouses? I don't see where, are they paying you or letting you, or are you paying them to let you in the door? What's the interaction between your businesses?
Okay, currently the sewage plants are being forced to connect to the sewage treatment plant, so there's a cost for that. This could be a scalable process that enters in between that, and the nutrients get used, and there's a value-added product produced. So we're proposing that, it could be something that the community of greenhouses pays for and puts together. But there's an unbelievable cost to run a sewage treatment plant where you're getting nutrients without violence. So we're just proposing an alternate method to treatment with the effluent.
How many greenhouses are we talking?
There's 200 on one, I think on 2 or 3 streams. And that's only on the Ontario side. If you look at the map, if you look at the map, you can see it on the American side, it's just as bad. Now if this process works and it does create a value-added product, you can take the tributaries that are impacted by the drain tiles, pump it through the system, generate your algae and your value-added product, and protect the lake.
Thank you very much. Give a hand to Soylent Green. Who do we have next?
Just want to make sure that there weren't any late arrivals from
Oh,
Windsor, from SHSM, Perth, Windsor, or Weaver. Okay, just checking. So next we would have Nemo, formerly known as RoboCrop.
Yeah, Nemo.
The last year we had, in 2017, I had no idea what a toxic algae bloom was. Basically, too much phosphorus gets into the water system, and you get this algae bloom. The phosphorus comes from a whole bunch of different sources. Agricultural, farms spreading fertilizer on fields, cows grazing in streams and rivers, combined sewer overflow, and fertilizing lawns are the 4 main ones as far as we can tell. That water runs off into drainage ditches and eventually gets into the watershed system, which gets into Lake Erie. This is the bacteria that causes the toxic algae blooms in Lake Erie, and that's the material that it creates after it gets fed with phosphorus. These are all the sensors that are active right now in Lake Erie. Some of them are real-time, some of them aren't. They're pretty sophisticated, they're expensive, advanced contraptions that scientists use to gather data to try to solve this problem. So we're trying to make a sensor array that measures data in a different way, a more efficient way. I'll let Jack talk about that.
So, hi, I'm Jack. I have a master's degree in civil engineering with a focus on environmental engineering and a master's degree in computer science. I've worked with Laura and some folks from Wayne State on different projects where we set up real-time sensor networks outdoors, and we run into some practical problems with getting coverage and making sure that those sensors stay online. So I've done a lot of research, implementing more efficient ways of monitoring these kinds of situations where you want to get data in at least soft real time. So we're using these boards right here from Particle, and we're using something called the thread protocol, where you have something like this. This is a gateway. This is connected to the internet. And then these communicate through other nodes through low power Bluetooth until they eventually can reach a sensor. And then this sensor can forward data back to the gateway and so it can reach the internet. And a more familiar solution that people have been using is LoRaWAN. And we also have a solution for LoRaWAN, but we're more excited about the thread protocol solution with Particle because they offer basically services to bring your product into production. So the sensor network here is already very low power, but on top of that, we've implemented my master's thesis, which is called Dynamic Sleep Protocol, which is a deep learning approach to extending the lifetime of wireless sensor networks. Because you often run into a case like this, where on the right, you have this is the battery voltage from one of our sensors that we deployed at Lake St. Clair as part of the Healthy Urban Waters project. We went out and set up this data. You can see that one was doing fine. The battery voltage was fluctuating between 12 and 13, or between 11.6 and 13 volts, but it was pretty stationary. And the one on the right was doing all right for about a week, and then it got cloudy. The battery voltage ended up decreasing over time until it died on August 29th there. And then we got no more data. And we said, these things are expensive, right? They're $10,000, $20,000 a piece. You're expecting to get data, and when it dies, you're basically out of luck until you can get a technician to go fix it. So Dynamic Sleep Protocol is basically a method to make sure that doesn't happen by changing the interval the sensors send data on to ensure that they're going to stay online.
Okay, and I am working on an app that connects to the real-time loss repository or data repository. It lets you have sensors by geolocation and has a nice UI for all that thread sensor data. It connects to all his Particle IO boards via Amazon AWS, and it has predictive analysis via Microsoft's Flow API. So you're able to have this customized dashboard that shows all the sensors that are interconnected. And yeah.
So this is our team. NEMO stands for National Environmental Management Operations. We thought that was a cool name. And that's it. Thank you.
One thing I guess we'd like to add is that our long-term goal here is to partner with Xylem. We'd like to help bring our technology into YSI to help make their products more efficient and intelligent.
Great. Thank you so much. Questions from the judges? Go for it.
I apologize, but it took me a while to understand what the product was, but I think I got it from the second gentleman. So it was basically the battery voltage, you want to be able to, as the equipment dies, you're going to change the frequency to make sure data is continually being able to be transmitted.
Correct. The user will set a threshold for the minimum interval they want data on. For example, you want data at least every 3 hours. So if this dynamic sleep protocol eventually finds out that the optimal schedule to keep the sensor online is 6 hours, it'll still send at 3 hours. It also sends a minimum threshold, so it won't be sending data every second in case it's in a situation where it really can send data every second. Let's say you really only want data every 5 minutes, it will stop when it hits 5 minutes.
there's no change to the battery component, you're changing the way it communicates, the amount of data that it's sending?
We're changing the interval, the length that it goes to sleep between transmissions. So typically a sensor will wake up from the sleep state, take some sensor data and transmit it over the wireless communication protocol, and then it will go back to sleep. And when it's asleep, it's not really using much battery, a negligible amount of battery.
Other questions?
Yeah, just a quick question. You showed the map of all the sensors in Lake Erie. If we are to apply your protocol, the solution you are talking about to all these sensors or the network, what is the feasibility in terms of what do you think feasibility or implementation possibility?
So there's a couple of different solutions there. One is we could actually implement, if any of these sensors have kind of trouble staying online, if they are sometimes dying, we could actually implement the dynamic sleep protocol on these sensors. But what we're most excited about is actually enhancing the sensor networks that already exist by focusing on areas where there's a lot of reason to speculate that there's nutrient loading occurring in that area, and then deploy a more dense sensor network with high spatial and temporal resolution to get real-time snapshots of what's happening in that area with high density and certainty.
One really quick question. Awesome. Let's get another hand for team. Judges, are we all good? Okay. You ready?
No, can everybody hear me?
Folks in the back, you good?
I need to walk around, I can't do stand at
You can hold the microphone off the stand if you want to.
And then,
You got it. All right. Do your thing. All right, ready?
Yep.
Oops, sorry, one way. Okay. 3, 2, 1, take it away.
Hello, I'm Dan Kelly with Blue Water Smart Tap. We are looking at improving drinking water safety and infrastructure monitoring by getting better data from our drinking water systems. What's our current problem? The Flint water crisis exposed all the issues with lead and copper. These are all come from corrosion within the system. They've got lots of costs in place if we don't deal with it on a good, regular basis. The problem with it is we don't get good samples, and that's our starting point and where we need to start. As you can see, we've got some connections to the local area. Cleveland, for example, has 180,000 estimated lead service lines. The risk is real. It is across the entire country. We're talking numbers 50 to 80 billion dollars worth of replacements and trillions of dollars worth of water infrastructure. We move more water every day than we do anything else on the planet. We have no good ways to keep it safe, to keep our infrastructure from corrosion. We've got some pretty particular monitoring challenges because when we take samples, we have all these variables that we need to control. Currently, we don't control those, and therefore the data we get really doesn't have any real-world value for us. The biggest key for this is to get accurate samples so we can get accurate data, and it has to be done at the sampling location. Distribution systems are big. We need to be able to put these in the places we need to get the information we need to make operational decisions. Currently, the way this works in the US and other places is in order to get lead and copper samples, we take a bottle and we ask the homeowners to volunteer to sample at their homes. How does this look for sampling risks? How does this look for sampling errors by people who are untrained? The biggest key is every one of these sampling locations is unique. They all have all these variables that we need to control, and we don't control them in any way currently. Lastly, from an infrastructure standpoint, we're looking at how do we take and monitor infrastructure from corrosion. Really, we do it after the fact. Once the pipe breaks, then we dig it up and go, oh, look, the pipes are gone. By then, it's too late. We need to get the data we need. And how is that going to work? We need to control the variables at each place so the water going in the sample bottle is analytically correct. Our device is an IoT-connected, programmable water tap, sampling tap, that controls those variables so that the water that goes in the sample bottle is known. We can control the flow, the stagnation time, and all the volumes of the water going into it. By having the device built with a known amount of plumbing and equipment, i.e. lead, copper, and iron, we now know what goes in our sample bottle. So when we take the analysis from the lab, we know what this means. I.e., we have a 900 mil sample, we know that 300 mils was in contact with copper. We know 300 mils was in contact with lead. We know 300 mils was in contact with iron. We've controlled the other variables, stagnation time, initial water chemistry, all the things that drive that. So now we have some data that makes some sense. Once we have that data, we can use it to make operational decisions to control the corrosion within the system. Our device is also going to have the opportunity to be IoT and cloud connected. So all those variables are tracked in real time every time a sample is taken, before and after. This way, we can now begin to put together the trends that are going on within the distribution system. And we actually have real accurate data to use. As far as the scalability and the market, there's 4 billion people on the planet who drink water from distribution systems. The U.S. alone has 150,000 public water supplies. This is how we take our samples for health safety. This is how we do our corrosion monitoring currently. We're looking to try to put together meaningful data so we can manage infrastructure. Once we have the data, we can now control the corrosion and make the lifespan of that infrastructure so much longer, and we can actually protect the health and safety of the people drinking the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the judges?
Just a couple questions. Where does this get deployed in the system, and then the cost of deployment, and who's the customer there?
The customer is the municipal water systems, and we'll deploy it, so I find the right one, throughout the distribution system in the locations that make the most sense. Depending on the size of the distribution system, the current EPA regulations drive how many sample locations that would be. Part of the problem with our sample locations now is they tend to be grouped in specific areas, not across the whole distribution system.
And what's the cost of it?
We haven't put together the cost on it yet because we haven't done the economies of scale for manufacturing. So that's part of our next step. Go ahead.
Good, yeah, I'd like this slide to stay there. The very first bullet, I'm still struggling with your argument. You mentioned the reasons that you cannot control certain variables. And the things you mentioned here, those are not even variables. Like if you control flow, obviously you're going to control the stagnation time. And then you already claimed in some, I don't know how you can read that claim here, that you can control water chemistry with this device.
We can, by knowing what the water chemistry is before it goes into the device, which will require a sample, we can control the stagnation time that the water is in contact with the piping within the sampling station. Because the longer the water sits in contact with anything, the more it dissolves it into. There's where our variable is on the current sampling. Somebody flushes a toilet in their house the day they take a sample, the sample's invalid. Because we don't know how long that water was in contact with the iron or lead or copper. Those are the materials we're trying to test for, so we have to control how long it's in contact with. We have to control how much water goes through it, because that tells us whether there's been orthophosphate to it, whether it's created a scale, and then we can use all the data, because every one of those samples is unique when it comes from the current situation. These samples will all have that control so that the real lead levels and the real copper levels are correct. Maybe that doesn't help answer the question, but I tried.
LCR sample requirements for communities. So there's a reason that you don't want to distribute it around the entire community. You want to focus on where the lead exists. You want to focus on the older communities. You want to focus on the sensitive individuals.
Correct.
So your comment of wanting to distribute it throughout, what is your thought there?
The goal for that is to now control corrosion for the lifetime and the protection of the entire distribution system. You still need to do those high-risk areas, of course, but we don't know what's going on in any of the rest of the distribution system because we don't collect this data from anywhere else.
That's all the time we have.
Thank you so much.